Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about Standard 4, Part 1. Teachers facilitate learning for their students. And Part 1 says teachers know the ways in which learning takes place, and they know appropriate levels of intellectual, physical, social, and emotional development of their students. Now, that's a lot, but I the first thought is that this one can begin to sound a little bit like some of the others that we've talked about when it comes to differentiating. That's the first thing that comes in mind. It sounds like that's the expectation for teachers to differentiate the instruction for their students. And we've talked about that in various formats and under different standards and parts of the standards. But let's delineate this just a little bit more and let's see what this is really asking of the teacher. I'm thinking right now of what we all learned when we studied multiple intelligences and we looked at the work of people like Howard Gardner and we talked about learning styles. So, and we know that no one has just one learning style, that people can be visual and auditory, or auditory and naturalistic, or auditory and kinesthetic. And if you're not familiar with those or you've forgotten them, then go back and look at those because that is important. That's a good basis. That's a good place to start when you're looking at addressing this topic of learning, facilitating the learning for students with regard to that student's intellectual, physical, social, and emotional development. So now to operationalize that idea of learning styles even better, there are some tools out there. There are a lot of things that are out there now for teachers to use. And I looked at one. I'm going to click on this now and just sort of reference it. This one is at a site that's called educationplanner.org. And it's put out by a reputable organization. It's a public service of the Pennsylvania Higher Education Assistance Agency, PHEAA. Anyway, this tool again is the educationplanner.org What's Your Learning Style tool. I'll put that link in WhatsApp so that you can get to it easily. So if you look on the left, when you get to that page, there's a drop-down menu. There's career planning, preparing for school, paying for school. But that fourth one, go there under self-assessments. That's a great place to start because you could actually give these assessments to your students, and that would provide you the kind of information that would be beneficial and would allow you to address this particular standard and particularly this part of the standard. So the first one ask, what kind of student are you? And then the student responds to 5 or 10 different prompts, such as I care about doing well in school, or I understand things that I have read, or I get along well with my teachers, or I am good at test taking. And after they answer those, and it's 3 responses from which they can choose, mostly true, sometimes true, not so true, and then it's shown their results. Well, you as a teacher could glean a lot about your student, just generally what kind of student that is, by letting them take, this kind of a survey. After that one, there is a self-assessment that's titled, What's Your Learning Style? And it addresses 3 primary learning styles, visual, auditory, and tactile. And then there are 20 questions. So you click on that link and the questions, let's say the first one is, what kind of book would you like to read for fun? Would it be a book with a lot of pictures in it, a book with lots of words in it, or a book with word searches or crossword puzzles? And then when they go to the next question, the question says, this one says, well, I guess I have to answer that one first in order to get there. So let me go ahead and answer that. A book with lots of words in it is what I'm choosing. And then it's going to give me permission to move on to the second question. And I'm going to take just a minute here and see if I can get. The second question says, when you are not sure how to spell a word, what are you most likely to do? Write it down and see if it looks right. Spell it out loud and see if it sounds right. Number 3, trace the letters in the air, finger spelling. And I'm going to say write it down to see if it looks right because that's me. And I'm going to click and it will give me, let's say, number 3. You're out shopping for clothes and you're waiting in line to pay. What are you most likely to do while you are waiting? Number 1, look around at other clothes on the rack. 2, talk to the person next to you in line. 3, fidget or move back and forth. I'm going to say talk to the person next to you in line. That's me. And it then lets me go to question number 4. So anyway, there are 20 of those questions, and when you get to the end, you'll have some results and a description of your learning style. That kind of information that the student derives is very beneficial to the teacher. So again, you could give your students this kind of an assessment or find another one that you like better and glean a lot about your students' intellectual, physical, emotional um, development and how they best learn. I'm hoping this will be very helpful to you as you plan your lessons. This also has self-assessments for study habits. Another great one that would help you as a teacher to best determine how you can get your students to perform better and to be more receptive to what you are presenting to them when you learn more about how they study. How strong is your character? All right, there's another one. All of this is great information that helps you as a teacher to better know how your students think and learn. Hopefully, this is helpful to you as you seek to address this particular standard and this particular part of Standard 4.